You are listening to the T. Rowe and Funky Show, and it is brought to you by Defense Soap. Defend what you've built. Tommy, I gotta say, I tried these products. He shipped me a box. I love them. I've had, if you know me, you know I've had ringworm issues for a long time. So I'm looking forward to putting these in my repertoire and hoping the ringworm does not come back ever.
No doubt, Ben. And to top that off, the company was created by wrestlers. Guy Seiko wrestled at Cleveland State University. His son was an All-American in Virginia, so these people really get it. They know what the wrestling community needs. You're listening to the T. Rowe and Funky Show, brought to you by All Force Nutrition. Ben, I don't know a whole lot about the founders here, but I gather it's a wrestling family, wrestling company up in the North Country where you're at. Tell us a little bit about All Force Nutrition.
Tommy, All Force Nutrition was started by the Zilverberg brothers out of Minnesota. They are wrestling people, and they made these supplements for wrestlers. They graduated with degrees from the University of Minnesota, and this was kind of their dream to put together some very healthy and good tasting. I've had some myself lately. Supplements for wrestlers to use that fits their needs, and these products are great. I'm using them myself right now. Check out allforcenutrition.com. Made for wrestlers, by wrestlers. Go ahead and support them.
I'm wrestling, do not weep for me. Celebrate what I am. Celebrate what I have been. Celebrate what I represent. And celebrate the many ways I have impacted your life. I will survive this test as I have survived others. I am forever etched into the very fiber of all mankind. The world needs me. Time is on my side. History guarantees me. I am wrestling. Do not wait for me.
All right. Welcome to episode 6 of the T. Rowe and Funky Show. We are sponsored by Defense Soap. Defend what you build. And Tommy, I am proud to say we have brought on another sponsor, All Force Nutrition. They are a nutritional company out of Minnesota, which is built by wrestlers for wrestlers. So we're excited to have them with us. We'll talk more about them later. But how you doing, man?
I'm doing all right, and completely agree with the sentiments. It's great to have sponsors on board. Defense Soap was our first, and then All Force Nutrition coming on. Great to have people allow us to cover the costs associated with trying to build a following here. So excited to have them involved, and now I'm excited to talk wrestling, which is why we get on the phone.
And really, even better about both these companies is they're wrestling people, right?
Oh, yeah.
They are, Guy Sacco, his son wrestled for Virginia. He's a wrestling guy. And the Zilverberg brothers in Minnesota, they have wrestling tradition in their family. So it's nice to be able to have
Guy Seiko also wrestled at he wrestled himself at Cleveland State.
Oh, man.
And, his son Gus wrestled at St. Ed's and was an All-American at Virginia. So
nice.
And then tell me more about our All Force partners.
They're a nutritional company out of Minnesota. Dan and Dave Zilverberg. They started their company a few years ago. They're really new, but they're already sponsoring Bill and Ness and David Taylor. Oh my God, Mark Bader's,
Silverberg as in the Zilverberg.
Mark Bader's calling in. Hold on, let me add him.
Okay.
He's a little early. Mark, what's up, man? You're on with us right now, but you're early. Hello?
Hello.
All right, there he is. Tommy, say what's up to my man Mark.
Hey, Mark, how you been, brother?
I'm great, Tommy. How you doing?
Good. I saw on Twitter you had a rough day of travel today.
It was an early morning, but made it home and I survived it. I weathered the storm.
Nice.
Awesome. We're glad to have you in the mix tonight.
Well, Mark, you called in early, and I was a few minutes late because I had some technical difficulties on my end. So are you prepared to hear my monologue that I was going to prepare to go on before we brought you on?
Yeah, a monologue from Ben.
I'm prepared too. Ben said he was going to surprise me, so I don't even know what's going to come out of his mouth.
I have not even told Tommy what's up, and so I think Tommy's probably going to agree, and I think you'll agree also, Mark. But you never know.
See.
So here's my deal, Tommy. I'm on the WIWrestling.com forum, which is the local Wisconsin forum, and I guess FILA or UWW finally passed the uniform code, which says they're going to shorts and a compression top. Mark, am I correct on that, Mark?
I cannot confirm that.
Oh, okay. Because it was like a year ago when they said they were changing from the singlet but not going away.
Okay, I heard I believe that they were going to change, but not. I didn't hear that they were going to shorts and compression tops. I heard something along the lines of they were going to be able to. It wasn't red and blue, and that they were going to be able to wear the country's colors, emblems, whatever design.
Well, so anyway, so this guy links this article that says that this is what's going to happen, and everyone pretty much speculates that colleges, high schools will follow suit. So, a few guys are like, great for wrestling, I think it'll help build numbers. And then this one guy comes on, and he pretty much goes on a long tirade about how, it's not a big thing, it's a small thing, and kids need to be tougher, and wrestling's a tough sport, and we're just not going to get a lot of kids, and blah, 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 blah. And while I think he's semi-correct, my sentiment is there's obviously a lot of kids who wrestle, but there's also a lot of kids who probably think about wrestling but don't do it. And if you divide all of them up into a pie chart, and you pick their main reason why they're not wrestling, it could be a lot of different things. Some of them, it is definitely the singlet, right? I had my fighting teammate, CM Punk, the other day told me, I don't remember, I said something like, why didn't you wrestle in high school? And he said, well, I went out for the team, but they told me I had to cut my mohawk, so I couldn't wrestle any matches, so I quit, right? And so, middle school, high school kids, they're not logical all the time. And so my thing is, even if this singlet thing's changing from a singlet to shorts and a compression top, because let's face it, I'm just going to say it like it is, prepubescent boys don't always want to show off their prepubescent junk in a singlet in front of everybody, right?
Geez.
I mean, that's just how it goes. That's what's up. And so we all know, and so if that even increases the interest in the sport or the people coming to the sport by 3 to 5%, that's a huge number. Across the whole country, that's a huge, and 3 to 5% is not a lot.
Ben, I wanted to disagree with you before I knew what you were talking about, just to get some flavor in the show. But
I'm not done yet, Tommy. So you might
ahead.
Still. So I think there's all these small things like the hairnet thing. That's stupid. The facial hair thing. That's stupid. The singlet can be changed. That'll help. But one thing that I think is really important that wrestling people stick to so much, and it drives me insane, is you're not tough enough, right? Yeah. And so you get a new kid off the street and you try to grind him, you can make him quit, sure. And is he tough enough right then and there? Probably not. But you know what? That kid has zero investment in the sport. So what investment does he have to stick around, right? And it's almost like these wrestling people have a chip on their shoulder that they have to prove that this kid isn't tough enough. And that's just not the right way to do it. I say, let's get him in the sport. Let's get him invested. Once they got a couple years in, now we can show them how tough it is. And listen, Mark, Tommy, you guys have been to the highest levels of wrestling, and no one can tell us how tough it is because we know when we've experienced it firsthand. And go ahead. I bet you're passionate about this too, Mark. Let's go.
Well, and in any sport, the toughest of the tough are going to rise to the top. I'm sure Major League Baseball is tough, right? I'm sure it is. And the best are going to rise and be Major League Baseball players. But how many people play baseball as a youth, right? And they're not in it because it's tough. They're in it because they like it. And as they grow and develop, they're going to go on to elite teams, and then the number of kids is going to get a little bit smaller. That goes to the top. But to your point, it shouldn't be about being tough right off the bat.
Yeah, and so the thing I want to pick on right now is just that, we don't have to. We can bring these kids in the sport and let them have some fun for a couple of years, even at the high school level, right? Because if you have a program with 60 kids versus a program with 25 kids, you're not going to have as many forfeits. You're going to get a bunch of decent athletes who turn into 30, 40 win kids, which is great for the team. And so why do we have to, as wrestlers and wrestling coaches, prove that you're not tough enough for this? That is such a stupid chip on your shoulder type of mentality that I really wish would be erased from the sport.
Yeah, I don't think you can legislate toughness. You can't instill it in somebody. And so to the point that you guys are making, I think get as many people in the sport as possible and let the chips fall where they may when you get to a level where toughness matters. I actually, relating to what you're talking about, my 5-year-old son, he'll be 6 in 2 weeks, just wrestled in his first ever wrestling tournament today, and he went 1-2, and we had a blast. We had a good time. He got a little bit teary-eyed in one of his losses, but I just told him that he's got to try his hardest and have fun. We didn't talk about being tough or hitting a nasty crossface against someone's nose or what have you. And he got third place, and we went out to get ice cream tonight as a family just to congratulate him on trying his hardest. And I think you would think, with someone who has a background like myself, a deep background in wrestling, where maybe it's like we should go down in the basement and drill for 4 hours or something like that. But honestly, to the point you guys are making, I want my sons, because I love wrestling. I think it's the greatest sport in the world. I want them to enjoy the sport. I don't want them to feel like a prisoner to some type of idea, some type of, state of mind type toughness. That honestly, that stuff evolves. That the toughest of the tough, and the people that really find the high levels in the sport. That just happens. You can't legislate that. That's not something that your dad or your coach or anybody really can put inside of you. And so we just need to get as many people in the sport, and then just let it happen, let it evolve.
Wrestling's inherently about it's about being tough in matches. Like, you have to be tough to wrestle and win. And whether or not that's preached, when you're wrestling somebody in practice and or a match, that being tough is just part of it. You don't have to crack somebody with a whip the entire time to get that point across to somebody who's wrestling that this sport's tough. Yeah. And if you want to be good, you're gonna have to be tough.
100%.
The other thing that what is tough? I mean, my idea, tough to me is not shoving the guy out of bounds. Tough to me is not, giving somebody the stare down. Tough to me is not, flexing your muscles or acting like a big macho guy. I mean, tough to me is coming back every day, win, lose, or draw, and lacing up your shoes and being excited about being there. I mean, that's the toughest, aspect of the sport. So tough to me can be defined in a lot of ways.
Nice. Okay, so let me wrap this up so we can get to the fun stuff, because there was a lot of fun matches this weekend. So, two things. I think wrestling people need to realize every small thing we can do to eliminate someone's thought of not coming out for wrestling is a positive. The more kids we got for the sport, the better. Number two is that it might be good to get some of those not tough kids out for wrestling, because honestly, in 2015, I feel like wrestling is one of the last strongholds for masculinity, where it's okay to try to be dominant over your opponent in a PC society. People need some toughness, and kids need to learn it somewhere, and they aren't being taught it on the playground, and they aren't being taught toughness in school. So if a kid's not tough, that's not his fault. That's society's fault. Let him come to the wrestling room, treat him like a human being, and he's going to get tough if he sticks around. That's just the bottom line.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree more.
Okay, so how about this? Speaking of tough, you know what I want to start off with, guys, on the U.S. Open?
Reese Humphries throw.
Oh, my God. Listen, I'm watching. My wife has friends over last night, Bader, and they're watching a movie, and I'm sitting here watching matches, and I just start freaking yelling. I'm like, ah! And I'm, my God, he killed him. Stop the damn match, Bader. I mean, Pico's just a kid. He's just a kid. He's got a lot of life left to live.
It looks like something that WWE.
My God. Have you ever seen anything like that? I mean, Bader, I don't think I've seen anything like that.
No, and in maybe college and definitely high school, that's illegal.
Oh,
but
yeah.
And the senior level, let it go, and I love it. Like, body's flying, that's part of the sport, and that's tough right there.
Wow.
Oh, gosh. That was the cleanest power bomb I've ever seen in my life.
My God.
Yeah.
I was just like, oh, my God. Oh, that was fun. Okay, Bader, where do you want to start? Yeah, we got so many matches. What do you want to talk about?
How about 86 kilos? Dake and Taylor both go up, and they Taylor crushes Ruth and makes the finals, and Dake is just good, man. The guy's just a winner. He moves up.
Oh, yeah.
100%.
Same story, different weight,
Yeah, and man, David Taylor really, tactically though, in that match, what the hell was he doing reaching back for the leg right away and giving up the trap arm, gutting down 8-0 right off the bat? Like, what was he doing there? I don't know what he was doing.
You know what that reminded me of? That the second match in the World Team Trials between Burroughs and Dake, when Burroughs strikes right off the whistle, gets the lace, and I think he's up 8-0, same thing.
Yeah.
And immediately
Absolutely.
Oh no, I don't want this to end. I want to watch this. I want to be entertained, and I want to see 6 minutes of action.
Yeah.
But that put Taylor in the hole, and he couldn't come back.
Yeah, and the other thing I thought, which I'm a huge fan of Magic Man, but I thought another tactical error besides reaching back was he kept attacking that low ankle, and in freestyle, when the kids got the flexible hip, I'm calling kids. When Kyle, Dake got that flexible hip, I remember one guy in my era that had it was Jared Frayer, and he was so annoying to practice with because you'd get him there, and he had that chest lock and that crotch lift and that hip, and you just couldn't do anything there. So, obviously I'm not saying it's easy to do something else on Kyle Dake. I'm not saying that, but tactically I think you got to go somewhere else when that's not really working.
Yeah, I mean, he was in on the leg several times. And I don't know if it's just freestyle, but finishing on Kyle Dake is it's just tough. This guy's so good at, it's like, okay, you got to the leg, you're 25% the way to the score.
Yep. And I was actually watching fighting while I was watching these matches, and you guys might appreciate this, but Nate Diaz was on TV. And
holy cow. I mean, that guy is so raw, man. It's unbelievable.
But there was this scramble in the second period between Dake and Taylor, and it scrambled, and then Dake just kicks away. And I'm thinking, like, what would be perfect right now? If freaking David Taylor just got up, did the Nate Diaz and gave him double birds. Like, come on, man. I'm sick of your crap. This is 7 matches. I hate you. I hate you right now.
Oh, man. It's going to be interesting as we get to April. I mean, those guys have been scrapping. Obviously, Dake has found a way to, creep in and, win 7 in a row. I mean, at what point do you think, at some point, David's got to be – a guy that's going to have to try to get over that hurdle. I mean, that it's becoming not only technical and tactical, but mental a little bit, I would say.
Yeah.
It was, the first, I guess minus the Olympic trials in 2012, the next, 3 or 4 were razor thin, with Dake winning on a riding time or an escape or whatever. And then it's, the last 2 with the trials in Madison and here last night, just kind of widened that gap,
Yeah, and I want to say, Bader, unfortunately, I've been on David Taylor's side of this. I mean, with the Pendleton match, and I got one over on him there at the Big 12s the one year, but I lost freaking 7 of 8 in college, and then I lost to him 3 times in freestyle, and it was like that. It was like close. I mean, I remember in the 05 trials, I lost the first period 4-2, and then I beat him 6-0 second period, and then I lost 4-3 third period. It's like, well, I freaking scored more points than the guy. But it was like, just like that thin where you just can't get over the hump, and there's
right.
And man, to this day, I can't put my finger on what it was.
Right.
Obviously he's a great wrestler, but there's just something there, and maybe that's what David Taylor is feeling like, and it's a terrible feeling to work your ass off and have the same thing happen over and over. I mean, it's miserable.
Was Chris Pendleton in your head?
He wasn't. It'd be like every match I'd be like, okay, I'm going to kick his ass this time. And then he'd, like in Stillwater, my sophomore year, he won on riding time. It was 4-3. And so it wasn't like I was far away. It wasn't like I was getting my butt kicked. It was like I was right there every time. And, maybe there was 1 or 2 matches that weren't that close, but for the majority of them, it was like I was right there, and there was just something. And no, I can tell you, he wasn't in my head. I was, at that point, that was my measuring stick, so I could beat everybody else. And this is probably what Taylor feels like to Dake. And I don't know what it was, but it was just so frustrating that I just couldn't get over the hump. And I can't put my finger on it. And I would guess if you would ask David Taylor right now, he'd say he couldn't put his finger on exactly what it is.
I don't think so either. I think David is accustomed to getting past somebody's first line of defense and creating, I think, a series of options for himself after he breaks down that first line of defense, and then he's got 3 or 4 things in his bag of tricks. If you do this, I'll do that. If you do this, I'll do that. And it's been difficult for him to date to get past that first line of defense with Kyle, where it looks as if you're wrestling Kyle Dake's match, not David Taylor's. And I've known David since he was in the 7th grade. I think I loved that Kyle Dake too, but I think if I had to get on one side, it would be on David Taylor's side, at least in terms of who I'm emotionally rooting for. But I think that's been the challenge for him, is that it's hard for him to create a scenario or a situation in the match where, stuff's flying around everywhere, so to speak.
Yeah, definitely. Hey, Bader, is your comeback partner, is Jake Herbert? What's his status? Is he done? I know the labrum thing happened, but is he done? What's his deal?
No, he's wrestling. I think he got scoped, and it was 6 weeks maybe off the mat, but he's April 9th, 10th, he's ready to go in not Madison, Iowa City, and he's going to be going, giving it another run, and his plan is to make the team and win it. So, and throw him in the mix with Jake and Taylor and Ruth and Honor Breeder and Foster and on, and
Gavin.
So do you have is it Herbert 1, then Dake 2, Taylor 3? Is that how it's going to go, or do you know, Mark?
Do I know? Of course, no. Of course, but I don't know. But that sounds right. I mean, Herbert's the guy. He's a returning world guy. He's the Olympian.
So it'll be Herbert and Ruth in the semis, and then Dake and Taylor in the semis on the other side, and then you've got Reeder, Gavin. Who else do we got in there it wouldn't shock you if they knocked off that top 3 or 4 group right now?
Man, I think that's it. I don't think you can really go any deeper than that. At least I wouldn't say you could. I mean, I don't know what you're going to say, Mark, but I'd say that's about.
No, yeah, I would say that's the top guys, and that's if somebody else made the Olympic team, it would be a surprise. You can't count anybody out, but.
I was going to say too, while we're talking about that bracket. There's so many other matches to get into, but the idiocy of seeding Taylor and Dake 7 and 8. I mean, who the hell thought of that? I mean, I don't want to pick on people, but Ryan Loader. I mean, in what parallel universe is Ryan Loader ever going to beat Dake or Taylor? I don't care what freaking weight they're wrestling at. Do you know what the seeding criteria was there, Mark, or what are we going with here?
It seems a little bit inconsistent because when guys go jumping weight, Dan Dennis comes down, doesn't have a whole lot of results at 57, but he gets the 1 seed. And then, the scenario that you just brought up, things like that. So, I don't know the exact criteria they went with, and it didn't seem like it was maybe consistent completely across the board, but the wrestling got done and the chips, fell where they fell.
So that gave that scenario right there, that gave us Ruth Taylor quarterfinals, and I know there was one questionable call in there. I watched, but man, that was pretty much domination. I would not have predicted that by any sense of the imagination. So I don't call myself.
I had Taylor in a tight bout. That was my prediction. I didn't have him going out there 13 zipping Ed Ruth.
Yeah, I was in the first period. I think I was calling. That was on mat 1. I was calling the quarterfinals on mat 2, but I was definitely peeking at the corner of my eye, and it just came out with that dump like immediately, right? It hits Fireman's dump, and it's like Ruth never really kind of got it together. And hats off to Tate.
Yeah, definitely. So 86. Anything else we got to hit at 86 or what?
I don't think so. I think that covers it.
You good there, Bader?
Yeah, I'm great.
Okay, well, so let's go back to the beginning because I know what Tommy was bringing it up yesterday with me, and I don't know too much about this guy, but I think he's one of your heroes, or at least one of your favorites at the very least. Freaking Daniel Dennis. Where's this guy? Okay, so let me recap for you, Bader.
Yes.
The guy's an NCAA runner-up. He tries to wrestle freestyle for a year. His results are not very good whatsoever. He goes to California. He's a hippie or a mountain man or a bear wrestler or something out there.
He's off the grid. He's basically off the grid, if I'm not mistaken.
And then he comes back, and he's freaking one of the best guys in America. Like, what Bader? What am I missing here?
Explain this to us.
You're asking me. I don't know for sure, but it's funny. I don't know if you knew this or not, but my older brother Adam coached at Grant High School, where he went along with Jimmy Kennedy, and Jimmy was kind of his blue chipper, but he told me about this gritty kid, and he's like, I got this kid, Mark, you would love him, and his attitude and his work ethic, and he's the best kind of kid you want on your team, and he absorbs everything, and he wants to learn more. And so that's part of it, and maybe, obviously having not reached his full potential in college, but he's dang good, you know, and I think he just finally put it together. I was out, actually, when we initially went out to shoot the very first part of the Terry movie that's coming out, with Terry Brands, Dan Dennis was out there training with Metcalf, going toe-to-toe with him as Metcalf is preparing for the World Championships in 2014. So I'm like, and Dan wasn't wrestling at this point, and he was living in California. He just, you know, he came out to Iowa it was a training camp or whatever, and I'm looking at this kid, man, he's going toe-to-toe with Metcalf. You know, he's standing there banging, and as, you know, the practice wears on, Metcalf wears him down a little bit, but Dan's not really training at this point, right? He's just here to help Metcalf train. So I was super stoked to see him come back, and the story on him, that's what I know. I'm not, you know, yeah.
We got to have this guy on the show, Ben. What do you think?
I don't know. You know, yeah. I mean, I wouldn't know what he was doing out there in California. Maybe it was cougar wrestling. I'm not sure, but he got really good.
He was coaching to some extent. I know. He was coaching, helping out at a high school, or coaching at, I think, a high school, or a few kids from a high school, or something along those lines.
Yeah, and he's not the only one. We're on freestyle right now, but. Jake Clark, which, you know, I was kind of gonna say it doesn't say a lot for the guys at that weight class, but Jake Clark's out in Hawaii hanging out. I hung out with him in Hawaii a couple years back. Not competitive in the last handful of years, and then just comes out and beats everybody at Greco 86 kilo or whatever it is. I mean, what? How does this work? I mean, Tommy, you know, I know you took some years off and you went and whooped Snyder a couple weeks ago, but. You know, most mortals aren't doing that, right?
This is the fourth episode in a row we're revisiting Kyle Snyder's beating that he gave me. So, anyways, yeah, it wasn't pretty for me.
Oh man, that's funny.
He's pretty good, just, you know, at least.
Yeah, I know.
So then we got, you know, Hazelwinkle looked good early. You know, he had that shoulder surgery last year, returning to form. Coleman Scott, first time down at the weight. I know Tommy. I think you had a lot of good things to say about him.
Yeah, well, I watched most of his matches, and I know he lost to Dan Dennis, who, again, we've already brought him up. He lost to Dennis 3-2, but he mollywopped the rest of the field in all of his other matches. And I think, considering it's his first time down,
yeah,
and I think that was his first time weighing 125 since like 2000. I want to say it was like 6 or 7.
Sophomore year.
Yeah, 6. He said
that. So 10 years he hasn't been that light, and, you know, considering those circumstances, I would say that Coleman Scott, if I had to pick my number one challenger to Ramos, it would be Coleman Scott. Even though Dan Dennis had a great weekend, it'd probably be Coleman Scott in April.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, I know when I went down to 163 for the first time, I felt good earlier in the day, and then I ran into your buddy Joe Heskett in the semis, and man, my legs just started getting the lead. I mean, I never experienced that weight in, like you said, like probably 10 years or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, so I think also, like you said, once his body normalizes to that weight, it might be a little better for him.
Yeah,
no doubt.
So I was, and I love Coleman. I was pleasantly surprised. I was a little skeptical because of all of that, you know. I was wondering how he'd hold up, and, you know, honestly, you know, at the World Cup last year, the last time I saw him wrestle, kind of gassed, and you're like, okay, now he's going to shed X amount more pounds. But yeah, he looked great, and Dennis kind of outgrinded him just a little bit, but he hit a sweet double and took Dennis right off his feet. So the other thing I think is interesting is, you know, we can say independently we think this of Dennis, and independently we think this of Ramos, but putting them together is a whole different dynamic because they train together, right? They wrestle
Absolutely.
together. So, like, that's gonna change all of it, whether it's what happens physically in the room or any kind of mental thing that's going on, you know, between the two of them.
So does Dennis got the big brother on him or what? Because he's older by what, 3-4 years?
So yeah, you know, the question I wonder is, like, okay, when Ramos came into the room, was Dennis, this older guy, that's beating on him, and how have things gone since? And exactly, does he maybe have a big brother thing on him?
Who do you think is going to be coaching who? So if they're both trained by the same guy, do you think Terry Brands is cornering Ramos because Ramos has been the most recently I guess, lifestyle, consistency, commitment level in Iowa City the past 3 or 4 years, or do they, just kind of sit to the side and?
I have not thought of that until right now, and it almost blows my mind to think about it.
Yeah, should be interesting.
And you got Mike Durrell in the mix. I think if just Terry removes himself, and I don't know.
Well, I think if Terry's in the corner for one of them, it's going to affect the other guy notably.
Oh, yeah, that's for sure. Or does Terry go in one corner and Tom goes in the other corner?
Well, then that would Tom Brands is the only guy that can cancel out Terry Brands in that situation. So,
I mean, that's a great question. Wow. What?
we need to get like high tech here and create like a poll and tweet it out on our Twitter account and all that stuff, Ben.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. Hey, so before
we know Mark Perry wouldn't have a problem coaching against whoever his own boy.
Yeah, he just coached against JoJo a couple hours ago or an hour ago.
This is the nephew,
Yeah.
man. He coached against his own brother. He don't give a damn. Okay, before we get off this weight, though, I got to rib you a little bit, Tommy. Your guy, Abbas, making the comeback, doesn't make the comeback, loses first round, and then loses in the wrestlebacks.
I know.
What do you gotta say for yourself?
Ben, you're all over me, man. But Stephen Abbas, I don't think there's not any one of us on this call that's going to argue his greatness. And I don't know if he's going to try for the last tryout opportunity at the Schultz tournament. But, yeah, I mean, I'm sure he had a lot of things going on, getting his weight down, father time, a lot of things to consider as to why it didn't happen the way that it did. But I actually watched him against Zach Sanders. He lost 2-2 criteria, and to me, he's slightly, I wouldn't say that he completely out-wrestled Sanders, but I'd say he slightly out-wrestled him and then didn't get to see what happened on the backside. But, yeah, it was disappointing, Ben. I mean, I'm a little hurt by that. But, I still think Stephen Abbas, he put the silver medal in the drawer and put it to bed and went out and put it on the line. And when people do stuff like that, I just get motivated by it. I get inspired by it because the guy's got nothing to protect. He's really got nothing to prove. The only thing left to prove would be to get an Olympic gold medal. And I don't think he was wrestling for those reasons. So to me, I thought it was pretty cool. I wish that it turned out better than it did. But, yeah, you got to rip me. I don't blame you. Go ahead, Mark. Back me up here, man.
Not only did I think it was awesome, I thought he was going to do better than he did. I thought he'd make the semis, be right there with all the guys. And talking with one of the guys on the team, we're like, maybe he makes the semis, loses, and then forfeits the six. But, like, be right there in the mix. And for sure it was awesome that he came back. Like, to me, that's a huge storyline, and that's, we want to see that. And, I heard somebody say, oh, that's going to tarnish whatever. No, it doesn't tarnish what he's accomplished or who he is. He's Stephen Abbas, and he's a bad dude, and yeah, he's 37, 38 years old, and by the time caught up, and you can't do it forever. So, stuff happens.
Yep. So,
and who knows? Maybe we'll see him at the Schultz tournament. We don't know.
I hope so. Why not? For me as a fan, yeah, bring it. Let's do it. I want to see it.
I'd love to see it.
Last thing I got it this week, guys, is, and I don't think a lot of people realize this, but Tomasello, I believe it was the quarters, throws double legs, Colon to his back to go up 9-6 with 40 seconds left, a little less than 40. And then for some reason, he goes balls to the wall for a gut, gets stepped over and gets pinned. He just kind of fakes, gives him the old, hey, I'm really trying for this gut, but I'm really actually just trying to waste some time so you don't blow it up. He probably wins there and goes on to the semis, I think it was. Did you guys catch that one?
I did. I'm actually sitting here trying to pull it up right now on my internet.
Yeah, it was.
With me, but
I think he could be. Tomasello's a contender.
Him, but I didn't see the match.
Yeah, so I think Tomasello's a contender.
Tomasello's a freaking horse, man. I've been out there to Ohio State a few times to do these different shoots and documentary type things, and That guy lives. I'm telling you. I'm sure you've been around. He lives in the wrestling room. I mean, I show up in the morning, he's there. We come back after lunch, he's there. We're there in the evening, he's there. He's just hanging out or training or sitting there and getting ready to train or pacing. He's boxing.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's incredible. Lou, I'm not around the team every day anymore, but they're all my friends, and I talk to them a lot. And Lou Roselli, who's coached a slew of guys, both at Edinburgh and Ohio State. The list goes on. Myself, Joe Heskett, Jay Jaggers, Mike Pasillo, Logan Stieber, Josh Koscheck, Sean Bunch. Tervel Delagnev, Reese Humphrey, J.D. Bergman. I could go on and on and on. And Lou Roselli, before Tomasello even wrestled a college match last year, he said he's the hardest worker I've ever been around. And when I heard someone like Lou Roselli tell me that, I'm like, well, first of all, that means you think he worked harder than I did, which was tough. But I just know that, and Lou Roselli also is the type of guy that doesn't mince words. He's very direct and to the point. And when he said that to me, I was like, that's a pretty unique comment. I mean, I'm gonna watch out for this kid. I've obviously heard a lot about him. He just keeps pushing the envelope. He universally has the most committed lifestyle, from what I hear, in the program, and that's, it's kind of like, my buddy always tells me, you can't get more wet than wet. When you jump in the water and you're underwater, you can't get any more wet than being underwater. So there's a lot of guys. There's a lot of guys at Ohio State and in the wrestling community that are so committed. It's hard to, compare, because you can't get more wet than wet. But from what I hear, it's really hard to match Tomasello's commitment to the sport.
Boom.
He's deeper in the pool, so it's a little bit more wet the deeper you get.
Yeah, he's going to freaking Mariana's Trench. Oh man. All right, 665 kilo. We got Metcalf and Oliver, or they're already qualified. But this has to be. Maybe you can tell me I'm wrong. But Jason Ness, Hodge Trophy winner, doesn't place. This has got to be one of the best weights, if not the best weight ever. Ever? Can I say ever? Can I say that?
Well, and here's the deal, right? I'm not I would prefer there be more than 6 Olympic weights.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But the flip side is it makes all this stuff really exciting. You squeeze all these hammers into this. You got to pick a weight,
Yeah.
Take them away and figure out where to go, and all of a sudden they're all facing each other.
Yeah, definitely. And so, man, Jimmy Kennedy kind of comes, I don't want to say out of nowhere, but he wasn't the superstar. Like I said, we got Metcalf, Hodge Trophy winner, Stieber, Hodge Trophy winner, Ness, Hodge Trophy winner. We have all these guys.
Jordan Oliver, Kellen Russell.
Exactly. Molinaro, Pico. And Kennedy he didn't have the accolades of everybody, but he came on strong. He kind of put some distance there between him and the field that was there, and obviously Metcalf, Oliver weren't there, but I felt like he was a stud all day. Kind of put some distance there.
Well,
yeah, and go ahead, Mark. Sorry, you were the one that was there. My bad, man.
No. I want to hear what you have to say, Tommy.
I was just going to say, on the other side of the bracket, I wasn't even paying attention to Kennedy because I'm a Buckeye homer, and I thought Logan Stieber looked incredible. And
I was going there.
The fact that he lost to I didn't know it was a tough sequence there in the finals, but the fact that he lost to Kennedy, with the way that Logan was wrestling, just speaks to the type of tournament and the way that Kennedy looked, apparently.
Yeah, excuse me, I'm eating some dinner.
What are you eating, Mark?
Pizza,
nice. Remember, actually, I was with you that one time. Ariel Helwani got so mad at me because I was eating during the interview. So you are from now banned from our show.
You should be more nervous with us, Mark.
Jeez, Mark.
This is a big time show.
Excuse me, guys. My apologies, but
good damn pizza. You're gonna apologize again.
I mean, Jimmy Kennedy was not that as off the radar, I guess, as you're making it sound. To me, 2014 World Team member, not the huge credentials in college, but I feel like he, underperformed, and he would probably say the same thing. I think the talent's always been there, and I think he's finally putting it together. And he's going to give Metcalf and Oliver and everybody else as much as they want, because he's the real deal. And dude's got muscles on top of muscles. He wrestled 61, but he's a big, 65.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
Freaking jacked.
Yeah, he's the real deal. He's freaking tough.
Wow. So, God, I want to
Oh,
see.
hey, I want to touch on that match too.
Yeah,
Did
let's do
you see
it.
that sequence? Right, Tommy, you alluded to it, where I think Logan,
Yeah.
Jimmy attacked, Logan went for a high flyer.
Yeah.
Jimmy did a cartwheel.
Yeah, I say correct call
After
for sure.
that, within that, to not expose his back. So not only was, it was his move, but there's no way you could score for Logan because he didn't expose.
Yep.
And that was kind of freakish.
Yeah, I thought so too. I thought the refs nailed that call. I think one of the guys on the mat got it wrong, but the other two corrected him, and they obviously called it correctly. Yeah. Also, that was nasty. Pico, man, he hasn't got he wrestled the Aegon match with Metcalf close. I haven't seen him get blown out in I don't know ever since I've started watching the kid, and it almost feels to me like he's underperforming. But then I had to remind myself this would be a freaking senior in high school.
The other
Senior
thing is
high school.
Is this the first American level senior level tournament he's ever gone through?
I would.
No,
say,
he wrestled Bill Farrell.
Oh, yep. Mm-hmm.
He wrestled in the Bill Farrell. Okay.
He lost to Molinaro in the quarters, maybe, and then he beat, I think maybe even Tech Molinaro for third.
Yeah, definitely. And but Logan was super aggressive with him, and obviously then Humphrey did what he did to him, which would be considered criminal in at least 38 states. But I mean, what has he got? He's got a Buckeye issue. I mean, he can't deal with the scarlet and gray or what?
No, they just have a couple of hammers at Ohio State at the Ohio RTC. I think it's not a Buckeye thing. It's just
you feel bad to even put Pico's skills or performance under the microscope. To your point, I mean, he's a senior in high school, so. But at the same time, I mean, if we're talking about a phenom that has a shot to be on the Olympic team, I think the one thing that I noticed in watching Pico closer than I ever have was he's a very well-rounded wrestler, but his offense, I see a lefty swim high crotch almost from the out in the open. That's a pretty good shot. Yeah. It's a real good attack, but outside of that, I don't see him attacking the other side of the body that much and really creating a whole lot of action. He's just extremely solid. But I think that might be, if I'm, I guess if I was trying to read some tea leaves here, it might be catching up with him that he, these older guys that really are starting to pay attention to him. They're realizing offensively that he doesn't have, 7 different skills to offer. He's got 1 or 2 from an attacking perspective. I don't know.
Yeah, I can agree with that for sure. Man, and so like I said, this weight is got to be one of the best in American history. As far as many people packed into one space as possible. I think Metcalf's the favorite, but I think realistically, Metcalf Pico wrestled close, so I think you got Metcalf, Oliver, Kennedy, Stever.
Hang on.
What do you got for me?
You're forgetting one guy.
I don't know who.
I mean, he's a bronze medalist at 70 kilograms.
Oh my
James
God!
Green.
We didn't even.
Oh my heavens!
My God!
That's why we have Mark Bader
throw
on the
him
show.
into the mix. I thought he weighed 150 pounds the other day. He tweeted or Instagram, whatever it was. He put out a picture of the scale and it's 150.0. So I mean,
wow,
he's in good shape.
So we've got Metcalf, Oliver, James Green, Jimmy Kennedy, Logan Stever, Reese Humphrey, Aaron Pico. Is there anybody else we want to list? Kellen Russell.
Kellen Russell's not far
Molinaro,
off.
Kellen Russell.
Molinaro.
I mean, there's good guys that we're not naming.
Quarterfinals. Chamberlain made the quarterfinals.
Yeah, I mean,
and then you got Imar. You got Imar.
Oh my God, Imar's coming in. That's gonna happen.
No,
yes, it is, Bader. I've got confirmation.
We've got inside stuff, Bader. We've got
people.
Come on.
Investigators everywhere.
More than I want to see Imar at that weight. Come on, of course. It seems crazy. Do you start focusing on making 163 pounds before the end of the NCAA tournament? Because you only have, 20 days, 3 weeks, or,
yeah. You mean 145 pounds?
43. It's 43 now.
43.
43. It was 45 when it was 66.
So my sources, Mark, told me, obviously Noel told us on this show a few weeks back that was going to happen. I went and found some of my own sources because I wanted to confirm it, and they said he's really light right now. He's not too much over 157, and they think, he's never made that weight, but they think he's right there, that he can step off the mat at the NCAAs and make the weight, and as long as it happens.
He doesn't look like he's sucking a lot of weight to 57.
He's not. They said he's real lean. He's real close to weight. That's what I got, and then he's gonna make the weight. So God, how many guys do you have to? This is what the heck.
Get
what
out
the
of here.
heck?
Yeah, it's amazing. That really is amazing.
Well, and that's that flip side I said, right? You take a couple weight classes away, and all of a sudden you have everybody scrambling, and all these weight classes still up with.
Hell, split that weight class in two, and you still got a freaking wow factor, I think. I mean, my God. So
is James Green going to get out there and wrestle prior to the trials?
Yeah, that's what I was curious about.
Yeah, I think he's going to go overseas in end of January, maybe February.
Gotcha.
So you got gun to your head, Bader, right now. Gun to your head. You got Metcalf, Imar, James Green, or other.
Oh my God!
Come on, answer the damn question, Bader. Don't stall.
James Green.
Wow, James Green.
Wow.
Are you gonna say wow no matter what I say, right?
Well, yeah, probably. It's fun to put you on the spot.
I wouldn't have said wow at Metcalf. I would have just called you a wimp if you said Metcalf.
Okay, well, the only reason I didn't, actually, I didn't want you guys to think I was just copping out.
Oh, man. Okay, so...
Hang on, what do you...
Okay, is there a gun to my head, or what's the situation here?
Right now, gun to head, go.
Hey, you want to tell me you want me to tell you a gun to the head story?
Well, I want you to answer the question first.
Okay, Imar.
He's stalling right now, Bader. He's stalling.
Yeah, stalling asterisk.
Okay, I said Imar. Now you want me to tell you a story?
You said Imar?
Yep.
Okay, yeah, it was the story time.
Okay, and then Tommy's got to answer. Wednesday night before the NCAA championships last year, I was sitting there with your boss, Martin Floriani, and, we're going through Missouri, Ohio State, Iowa, and obviously I'm a Missouri homer. We've talked about this multiple times on the show.
Oh, God, you're the worst.
But Martin says, gun to your head, who's going to win? I said, it's got to be Ohio State. Fast, I said it. And I was like, shit, did I just say that? Dang it, that's not what I want to happen. But that was my gut reaction, was that Ohio State was going to win, and I hated it, but that was what my reaction was, and unfortunately, it came true.
Yeah.
So gun to your head, Tommy. Who's winning 65 kilos and going to?
You're gonna just maul me here, but I'm going with Logan Stever. And listen, let me finish.
Not on the round, not on the question, man.
It's
not.
But it's a Buckeye. Come on.
It's less that I'm an Ohio State fan, and more that I know who the guy is. And he was, he's a 4-time NCAA champion. He's born to win. He's won his whole life. And a lot of these other guys have won their whole life, but he's maybe done a little bit more winning his whole life than they have.
Yep.
And I think when push comes to shove, I'm going with my guy from Ohio. And yeah, to your point, it's not like I'm taking the number 9 guy who went to Ohio State and saying he's going to make the team.
And at Bill Farrell and up until the final, and even in his final against Jordan Oliver, he kind of out-wrestled Jordan Oliver at Bill Farrell. Oliver capitalized late and got the win, but I thought he looked better in that match. I thought he was going to win.
Yeah, I felt the same way in that match.
Yesterday, was it yesterday? Yeah. Let's burn them together. He looked phenomenal throughout the day, and before, after the semis, we had a break. Brock Height, the new guy, Flo, who does all the international ranking, he's super in tune with international wrestling. He's like, he's a god. He's going to win an Olympic medal. He's like, he is looking for nothing. And he has, and he just couldn't quite close it out.
Well, he got second in Baku, beat a world champ. So
yeah, Lamano.
And this is his first year full-time freestyle. So every week, every day, every month is, he's rapidly honing in on the freestyle scene. So that's my guy. But it's almost like throw a deck of cards in the air. I mean, at the same time with this weight class, I mean, it's just going to be wild.
Yeah. Wow, that's a fun weight class. So thankfully, we spent so much time talking about that weight class. Thankfully, although I love Chris Perry at the new weight class, can we just skip 74 kilos and say Burroughs is going to Rio? Is that fair?
No way, man.
Is that fair?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I mean, Andrew Howe and Chris Perry would disagree, but
Yeah, they would.
It's fair, but I will tell you this. With the exception of Mick Marable, which is a matchup thing, I think Jordan Burroughs' toughest domestic opponent in his freestyle career has been Andrew Howe. And I think when Kyle Dake and David Taylor went up, Jordan Burroughs is the best in the world, and I know he believes he's the best in the world, but I think there's probably a part of him that said, I'd rather have them stay and have that be insulation from Andrew Howe.
I don't think he cares.
Yeah,
I guess you're right. Yeah,
to a point, and Andrew Howe is one of these guys that
maybe I didn't. Yeah, let me step in there. I didn't mean to say what Jordan Burroughs thinks because I think you're right. He doesn't care, but I think that's true though. That his toughest matchup of the three, David Taylor, Kyle Dake, and Andrew Howe, would be Howe. But to your point, he probably doesn't care.
And Howe's been just some of these guys that's been around forever, and he's just been behind these stars, superstars, and he's kind of quiet, and he's got no personality. So I feel like he doesn't get much press, but as I know from the MMA world, closed mouths don't get fed, if you will. But how good has he been for how long? I mean, he's been top 2, 3, 4 in America since he was 20 years old, probably.
And he does well. And he does well when he goes overseas.
Yeah,
he's not like this American. Guy that gets a lot of success overseas, domestically, and then he goes overseas and he can't buy a win. I mean, the guy goes overseas and he wins, and that's also impressive to me.
Yeah, he wrestled Burroughs in the very first in 11 when Burroughs made the team. It was in the finals.
Yeah, and he damn near made the team the year before that in 2010 against Paulson. I want to say he was in on a single leg to make the team and blew it. I don't remember the exact sequence, but he was right there to make it in 10, which is, what year did he start? He started college in, 09? Or somewhere around there?
Yeah, not far off. And he's a runner-up to Oklahoma, right?
Jared King, yeah.
Thank you.
Well, and then the 2012 Olympic trials, I mean, that was a heck of a series going on before he blew his knee out.
Yeah, it was.
Well, he took a period, right, in the first match.
Yeah, and Jordan Burroughs had to suck in a double, I think, at the end of the third period to win the match.
Yeah, so.
Okay.
But yeah, I'm taking Burroughs.
I'm taking Burroughs. I'm writing it off.
Well, of course,
yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so we talked about 86. So 97 it is now. The Tommy Rollins ass kicking that Snyder's giving us. I'm gonna bring this up as many times as possible over the next year. Tommy.
This is a 2-horse race, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's Snyder. I don't think Gadsden can do it again. I mean, no one else, right?
No, I think Bergman is 4-1 against Varner, and he lost, or maybe 4-2. He lost recently 2-2 refs decision, and Bergman and Snyder, it's kind of like Daniel Danis and Tony Ramos. They know each other really well, so that'll be a cat and mouse match in the finals if Bergman makes it out.
Tommy, you're all about Ohio.
I'm just trying to be educated. No, I mean
that Kyle Snyder good guy. He's no good. Tommy's just trying to help him.
Yeah, I can't help it that the Ohio RTC is tremendous, guys. I'm sorry that I have.
True. It's not your fault.
Like a homer.
Makes it easy.
Okay, so I got Snyder. I'm not going anywhere else. You guys, Tommy, I won't make you pick between JD and Kyle, but
I appreciate that.
But
I'll take your head. I'll take the offer.
Right? So, until he loses, until somebody knocks him off, he's the guy.
He's the guy.
Yeah, Kyle Snyder deserves to be the pick. I mean, he deserves to be the guy that you pick. I mean, that's just flat out. I don't think anybody would argue that.
And I feel like we're going to be a broken record here at heavyweight, and we're going to still be talking about Ohio.
Freaking Ohio.
Do you want me to pick somebody else, Ben, to make you feel better?
I would say almost even more than Kyle. I think Tervel's a heavier favorite. I mean, maybe the second biggest favorite behind Burroughs.
I think he is. I think you're right.
Yeah, I don't think any. I mean, maybe one of those guys could sneak a match, possibly, but to have to beat him, 2 matches, because he's gonna make the finals. To beat him 2 out of 3, I couldn't see that happening.
Zach Ray beat him 1 out of 3 this past year, right?
Yeah, and then I think I don't know what his health was like, but I know Tervel was battling that bad back during the World Team Trials. So maybe he's gonna come back healthy and be even better. I'm not sure. Tommy, have you got any looks at him? Yeah, Tommy, you got a rough day because like when I go to Missouri, I go pick on some freshman I can beat up. You go into the RTC and you're like, am I gonna beat up Snyder today? Am I gonna beat up Bergman today? Or am I gonna beat up Tervel? Which one of these guys is gonna get a beating? Right? Is that what you do?
I want to wrestle these I'm like 6'4", 250 right now. I want to grab a hold of like somebody that's 6'1", 205 that like wants to be great and he's like 18 years old or 19 years old. I'm looking for that guy. But it's the only people that ask me to work out are Snyder and Tervel, and it's like, hey, Tommy, do you want to work out? It's like, no, not with you. I don't.
You're like, hey, Reese.
Yeah, exactly.
Jason.
Well, he'd probably powerbomb me though.
Oh man, that's a rough room right there, Tommy. My God, I mean, freak for a 2-time NCAA champ to go in and have a rough day. Oh, can't imagine.
Exactly.
Okay, so that's our men's Olympic team, men's freestyle Olympic team. Man, I gotta be honest, I'm not gonna lie, I don't really follow Greco. It's hard for me to keep up with.
It's just it's too hard to comment on because I don't follow it as closely as probably I should now that we're doing this podcast. So maybe we can do that at a later date, Ben, and we'll do some research and get some opinions.
Yeah, possibly. Bader, what do you got on Greco?
Who actually looked good, and it was at 98 kilos, is Joe Rao. He was a world team member at 80 kilos 2 years ago, I believe. And he just beat Caleb Williams for the second time straight. He beat him at the finals of Bill Farrell, and he bombed him and threw him for 5. I was really, you go up 18 kilos, and it looked good, man.
Nice. Women's, I also don't follow women's. I'm not, some of these wrestling guys got to be PC about it, but thankfully, I got no one holding it over my head, so I can just say it like it is. And I only got a certain amount of time. I don't really watch Greco or women's. Mark, I bet you watched some women's. What's up?
Yeah, I watched a bunch of women's. What was it? 53 kilograms, I believe it was. No, 58. So there's a youngster. Her name's Tashaya Allo. She's like 18 years old, I think, from Hawaii.
Yeah.
And she just beat Kelsey Campbell in the finals. I wonder if she might have attacked her. She beat her 8-1 in the finals. And I first saw her. I can't remember if it was Fargo or the women's body bar out in Dallas last year. But she's for real. She's really good and really surprised me. She looked great. Was my pick for OW of the tournament. It went to Tamara Mensah, who beat Randy Miller at 69 kilograms, and she's 23 years old. She's a little younger as well, but she's hot on the scene and hoping to shake things up at that weight class. And of course, they weren't there this weekend, but Helen and Adeline, they're as good as it gets.
Actually, like I said, I don't follow women's wrestling, but I've been seeing this on the mat.com. This is really cool. I mean, we might have to get one of these girls on the show, but there's a few of the girls, Alyssa Lampy, I want to say maybe Helen Maroulis or Adeline Gray. They're wrestling in this professional league in India. That seems like,
Mm-hmm.
I'm seeing these pictures. It looks pretty freaking sweet. We might have to hop on and get them on and see what they got to say about it, because it looks cool.
I'd be in on that. That sounds great.
You know anything about that, Bader, or no?
I knew that they were over there wrestling, but beyond that, not much.
Yeah, it looks cool. So maybe we'll pop them on. Okay, Mark, we've kept you on here for a while. I know you got things to do. Let's go. Last thing, Reno, not what it used to be. Not very tough. Let's just say the only match we really care about here is Imar versus JoJo. Did you watch it? It was about an hour ago.
I did not. I did not get to see it. I know he won. Imar won 11-5. Did you watch it?
I did. Tommy and I both watched it. It was actually a really competitive match. Imar's better. I think it's safe to say. But he got a reversal right into a roll through tilt for 6 points in the second period off bottom. Which essentially blew the match open. Yeah, and it was the difference. Tommy, we were already talking about this before we popped on, and I could see it being closer. I definitely could.
Yeah, I'd be surprised if it's worse than that in March if JoJo comes out. So, to the point, I think Imar's better. I think that was clear in the match, but it was very competitive. I was impressed with JoJo Smith. And, when you think of them banging heads for the next 3 years, to me, if that's the first match and JoJo has, at this current juncture, more upside than Imar, not upside, but a greater trajectory to improve and close the gap.
Yeah.
I do think it's going to be pretty competitive if I had to guess.
Well, and side note, jumping on if they pull JoJo, like, what do you do if you're John Smith? It's trying to win a national title potentially. Pulling your son might be the difference. But maybe if you let him, you don't pull him and give him an extra year, he's got a better shot at being a 4-time NCAA champ. Like, that's a pretty dynamic situation. What do you do?
We've talked about this multiple times. I think it's simple. I think John Smith's going to walk down to the hallway and he's going to say, JoJo, we need you at 16 points at nationals. That means third or better. Do it, son. That's going to be all there is to it. It's done deal.
I think so too. I also think it's a teaching moment for your son. I mean, it's like, hey, there's things that are bigger than your individual accolades, and you can. I'm not telling you can't win the nationals this year. It's just you got to go beat Isaiah Martinez and 5 or 6 other guys, and the team can win. I mean, the flat. It's a team sport. It's an individual sport, but it's a team sport too. The team can win. Hopefully, he gets it. I think he does. And if the team can win the title, you put him in.
It's ironic because he's the winningest individual ever.
Yeah.
That's right.
Man, and the Isaiah is man, he's just so good though. The thing about him is, and I'm going to say this from personal experience because I did work out. I get to work out with him when he came up to AWA with Mark Perry one time. And it's funny, I clicked on this Indian page. I've only felt one other person who's got it's this special kind of power. When they get underneath you, they're going to lift you up.
Right.
And there's this Indian guy I wrestled at the Hargobind in Vancouver. He ended up taking a bronze in the Worlds. But it was like, I let people under me for a living. That's what I do. I let people get to my legs. But this Indian dude snatched me up, and I was like, all right, I get the idea here. And that was what I felt when I wrestled Isaiah, and I don't feel that. Besides those two, I've never felt it in my life against another wrestler. And so I think that's one of the things that makes Isaiah just so difficult to wrestle is if he gets underneath you, he's just going to snatch you up. I mean, that's just what there is to it. Hide your kids, hide your wife, because Isaiah's going to snatch you up.
I saw him getting on a low ankle or an inside single leg on JoJo. And the other thing, Ben, that he's good at is usually when you're in on a leg and you go up to the waist with the seatbelt, it's like a big no-no in wrestling. But when Martina, it's like an option for him because if you decide to wrestle back when he's got that seatbelt, he's going to pick you up and throw you. So if he doesn't like what he sees down there on the ankle or down by the knee, he just does a seatbelt thing. And it's like, man, I mean, I used to do that and get reamed by my coaches if I brought my hand up there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%. He's so good there. I mean, just so good. Yeah, because I think that was the first takedown, right? He slid up there, snatched JoJo up, and threw him on the ground like an 18-year-old kid.
Yeah, he did, man. It's just he's obviously really.
Well, that was fun, Mark. I knew you'd be fun to talk with.
Hey, one more thing. I got to talk about this Terry Brands thing that's coming out.
Oh God!
Oh gosh!
Yeah, let's do it.
It's gonna rock your socks. It's evolved over a year and a half. We initially went out there to do the normal a thing we do. We spend a few days somewhere, we interview a few people, we come back, we put out a 2-part series, and we move on, we do the next one. I think we interviewed Tom Terry and Royce Alger, and came back, and it was just like, this is. Actually, our editor, the guy who was working on it, still is working on it. He's putting it together. He was like, "This is the one," and we just decided, all right, hey, we're not going to put this out. We did Iowa Black and Gold at the same time, and it was gonna be like, roll it out with that, and then all of a sudden it was like this interview that he gave was amazing, and it's like, okay, we better let's hold off on putting this in. Let's go interview Gable, and we interviewed Andy Hamilton, who writes for the Des Moines Register, covers Iowa wrestling pretty extensively. We're like, all right, and then it was just snowballs. Like, wait, we need more. We got to go interview Mike DeRoe. Okay, now we got to go interview Kendall Cross. Now we got to get Tom Ryan. We got to get we talked to Jay Stripmatter, Mike Krause. We went back and interviewed Terry again. Interviewed his wife. So it's going to be a feature length film, 70, 80 minutes probably, something like that. And I've seen a bunch of the sections of it, and I will say it'll be the best wrestling documentary ever. I mean,
I made a prediction a couple weeks ago. I told Martin Floriani this. I think it's going to rock the wrestling community, unlike any film or documentary or movie or any story that's ever been told in wrestling.
And the goal is hopefully beyond that.
Right.
This is like it's a sports story. You know what I mean?
Right.
It just happens to be wrestling, and hopefully that's the goal. Is that anybody of any sport, or not even sports fans, like it's a captivating story.
Definitely. And I got to watch a few early versions with you, before you guys collected more interviews, and some of those quotes and some of those things they said, they became part of my regular everyday language, Bader. I use some of those phrases. So I dig it.
And we spent 2 days following Terry. I mean, put a mic on him at the U.S. Open, not a couple of days ago, but the U.S. Open in May. And he was cool with it. The camera guy's up in his face the whole time. He's on his hip while he's coaching. He's catching the intimate moments in the back after somebody wins or loses. So, I just wanted to say that. And I'm super
awesome.
I keep watching the trailer over and over. And, like it.
Nice. All right, Mark, we'll let you get out of here. I'm sure you got great stuff to do. Well, we got 10 days, right, till Terry comes out?
Yeah. Gosh, yeah. It's right around the corner. Merry Christmas to us.
All right.
That's right.
Merry Christmas, Mark. Have a good night.
All right, thanks, guys. Great
Thanks,
talking
Mark.
to you, Tommy. See you, Ben.
We'll see you, buddy.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks. Bye.
Well, that was fun, Tommy.
No doubt. It's always good to have Mark Bader on the show. And it was nice to talk some international wrestling with our guys. I mean, much of our dialogue this winter will be, college wrestling, some high school wrestling. It's nice to talk about the international guys because we probably won't be bringing that up anytime in the next, 6, 7, 8 weeks.
Definitely not. And, man, I missed this. I missed this, guy talk. Just get to go talk some wrestling for an hour. No one's bothering me. Love it. All right. You got anything else? I'm done.
No, I'm good, man. That was a good show tonight.
All right, Tommy. I'll catch you next week.
Sounds good, brother. You are listening to the T-Row and Funky Show, brought to you by Defend Soap. Defend what you have built.
Brought to you by All Force Nutrition, a wrestling company with products for wrestlers, by wrestlers. They sponsor a plethora of senior level athletes, including David Taylor, John Rear, Dustin Schlater, Zach Sanders, and their products are delicious. I've had their post-workout. I've had their pre-workout. I'm even getting old, so I'm taking some of the joint pills. Log on to allforcenutrition.com and get some of your products today.